good at fields, but I got another 10 to go.
There you go. You'll get there.
I want people to go, you're too thin.
Yeah.
James Brolin, a respected Hollywood legend, recently broke his silence in support of Justin Baldoni. Amid the ongoing legal drama involving actress Blake Lively and several online creators, the dispute, which has sent shockwaves through the entertainment and social media world, centers on Blake Lively's legal team issuing subpoenas to creators who reported or commented on her alleged involvement in a behind-the-scenes fallout. With Justin Baldoni now, Brolin's statement adds a deeply personal and emotional layer to a controversy already filled with legal tension, media scrutiny, and public opinion swirling without pause in a quiet moment caught by people. And further amplified by Page6 and Yahoo. James Brolin was asked about his views on the legal developments, and he responded with a calm resolve that resonated with empathy and experience, saying simply, "I hope it works out." These words, delivered without theatrics, carried the weight of a man who has seen his share of industry battles and understands the toll they can take on careers, families, and mental well-being. His remarks instantly sparked a new wave of conversation, not just about the case itself, but about Hollywood's response to what many are calling a dangerous precedent being set by Blake's legal strategy. Justin Baldoni, known for his emotional intelligence and socially driven projects, has been relatively quiet in recent weeks, opting not to make any direct comments about the legal proceedings or the subpoenas issued to multiple creators. However, insiders close to him told Yahoo that he was deeply moved by Brolin's support and viewed it as a reminder that authenticity still holds value in an industry increasingly shaped by PR machines. Brolin's statement came at a moment when the court of public opinion was nearly split between those who believed Blake Lively was protecting her privacy and
We are back from Paris, turning our attention from the Olympics for a moment here to one of the year's most highly anticipated movies.
Oh, yes. It's called It Ends With Us. It's based on Colleen Hoover's best-selling novel. And when you have Blake Lively in the starring role, you know it's going to generate even more excitement.
Chanel sat down with Blake and her co-star Jenny Slate to talk about what it was like on such beloved roles.
Have taken to their platforms to express their concern, shock, and in some cases fear. Several described receiving legal documents, requesting access to their bank records, personal information, and digital communication histories for what they say was simply reporting on public behavior and legal filings. One creator said during a live stream, "I never thought speaking truth would land me in legal trouble, especially not from someone like Blake Lively, who has always branded herself as an advocate for safety, empathy, and inclusion." The irony is not lost on many observers and fans who have begun pointing out that while Lively is arguing for security concerns in court, her legal team is allegedly compromising the security of those being subpoenaed. The inconsistency is at the heart of what critics are calling the unraveling of a double standard, especially given that the creators in question are not massive media outlets with legal departments, but individual voices often working from
always, every second. I just look around going, these are the days, I feel really, really, really fortunate.
Emotional compass to the ordeal, and it has also encouraged other Hollywood veterans to speak up, albeit anonymously. One retired actress told Page6 off the record that what Blake is doing might make sense legally, but ethically it's a disaster. This is not how you handle criticism, especially not in an age where creators are finally gaining a voice beyond traditional media. Another former studio executive who worked with both Brolin and Baldoni in the past said James wouldn't say anything unless it really mattered, and that alone should make people take notice. The story of Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni has evolved far beyond a private disagreement or creative fallout. It has become a lens through which the entertainment world is re-examining its.
What do you want people to walk away with at the end of this movie?
In this movie, it covers trauma, and it covers pain, and it covers joy and levity and first loves. And I want people to feel connected, and I want them to feel seen. And I think that just wanting people to feel is.
Legal analysts seem to suggest a fishing expedition rather than a focused legal argument. Even legal experts from institutions like UCLA and Columbia Law have weighed in, with one noting in a viral Twitter thread that if the subpoenas succeed, it could create a chilling effect on commentary journalism and even satire. This is particularly concerning in an era where influencer culture often intersects with legal and ethical dilemmas in real time. James Brolin's simple message then becomes even more powerful, a signal that even the old guard sees the danger in silencing questions rather than answering them. While Blake Lively's team has remained firm in their stance, stating that the subpoenas are necessary to protect her from harassment and misinformation, critics argue that the aggressive scope of the legal demands contradicts the image Lively has cultivated for years as a compassionate and progressive figure. Some fans have even started petitions calling for her to drop the lawsuits and apologize, while others remain silent, waiting for the courts to decide the truth. Amid all of this, Justin Baldoni has continued his public appearances, with quiet grace promoting his upcoming projects, while refusing to let the legal battle dominate his narrative. Those close to him say he is focused on his family, his work, and his values, and that Brolin's words meant more than just support, they felt like validation. From a generation of artists who value principle over spin as the weeks go by and legal proceedings continue, more creators are speaking out. Some have teamed up to seek legal counsel together, while others have launched fundraising campaigns to help cover legal fees in the background. The industry watches closely, wondering whether this is a one-time clash or the beginning of a larger reckoning for how celebrities use legal systems to control their image. James Brolin's presence in this chapter serves as a reminder that character still matters, that sometimes saying "I hope it works out" is less about optimism and more about quiet resistance to injustice. This situation has no easy resolution. The courts will decide what they must, but the cultural conversation it has ignited will likely continue long after the verdict is read. In a world where social media has blurred the lines between journalism, commentary, and personal expression, the actions taken in this case will ripple across platforms for years to come, and through it all, Brolin's voice echoes not loudly but persistently, reminding everyone involved that the real legacy of Hollywood is not just fame but integrity and empathy in the face of adversity. And in that future, the role of creators, commentators, and artists becomes more vital than ever. Their responsibility is not only to entertain but also to question, to hold accountable, and to illuminate the gray areas that institutions often leave in shadow. James Brolin's quiet courage reminds us that silence in the face of power is never neutral, and that the choices made in these moments echo long after the news cycle ends. For Justin Baldoni, the journey continues, grounded in compassion and conviction for the creators drawn into this battle. The fight for their voice is far from over, and for those watching this chapter of Hollywood unfold, the final takeaway may not lie in court documents or headlines, but in the simple, unwavering belief that truth still has power, and that those who speak it, even softly, shape the world around them. And with each passing day, more details emerge about the legal maneuvers and public reactions surrounding the case, bringing fresh urgency to conversations around digital accountability and ethical influence within the industry. Multiple advocacy groups and digital rights organizations have started weighing in on the matter, warning that what happens here could establish future norms for how online voices are treated in legal frameworks. This has emboldened some creators to double down on their commitment to transparency and truth, while others have pulled back, citing fear of financial ruin or emotional exhaustion. The pressure on Blake Lively's team has mounted as inconsistencies and contradictions continue to be highlighted across mainstream media and social platforms. Many creators argue that the legal battle has ironically drawn more attention to the very topics Lively sought to suppress, calling into question the effectiveness of legal silencing tactics as a public relations tool. Justin Baldoni, meanwhile, has garnered growing support from fellow actors, directors, and community leaders, many of whom have chosen to express their encouragement privately to avoid being targeted themselves. This cloak of quiet solidarity speaks volumes and illustrates a deeper unease within the entertainment world about the implications of the subpoenas. Even in the absence of direct confrontation, Brolin's simple yet profound statement continues to carry influence, especially among younger creatives who see his gesture as a torch being passed from one generation to the next. A reminder that dignity and purpose still have a place in a rapidly commercialized and algorithm-driven entertainment landscape. The broader cultural implications of this case extend into questions of creative freedom and who gets to own the narrative. In an environment saturated with spin, strategy, and selective outrage, the ability to critique, analyze, and dissect celebrity behavior has become both a right and a risk, and the consequences of that duality are now being played out in real time across courtrooms and timelines alike. Worry that the fallout from this case could discourage young filmmakers, influencers, and commentators from addressing serious subjects for fear of retaliation. Others believe it may encourage more public figures to use legal systems not as protection, but as a silencing mechanism. What makes this all the more complex is the way social media has democratized storytelling. In previous eras, narratives were controlled by studios and PR firms, but today a teenager with a phone and Wi-Fi can shape discourse. The creators caught in Blake Lively's legal crossfire are products of that new era, and their inclusion in the lawsuit reflects the growing pains of an entertainment industry adapting to digital transparency and decentralized influence. During a recent podcast appearance, a media professor from UCLA remarked that James Brolin's brief statement might be remembered more than the court ruling itself, because it captures a moment of ethical clarity in a sea of strategic ambiguity. The comment struck a chord with listeners who are watching the case not just for its legal outcome, but for what it represents culturally and generationally. As the case progresses, Justin Baldoni has remained consistent in his approach, declining to fan the flames publicly while continuing his philanthropic work and directing commitments. Sources close to Baldoni say that he sees this period as a test of character more than a legal ordeal. One associate shared he believes in telling the truth through art and conversation, not courtrooms, and that perspective has helped him stay centered through the chaos. The public, however, remains divided. While some fans rally behind Blake Lively, trusting her claims and advocating for her right to privacy, others view the broad nature of the subpoenas and the targets chosen as an overstep in the worst way. Social media has become a battleground of narratives with trending hashtags, amplifying both sides of the divide, and at the center of it all, Brolin's voice remains a reminder of what can happen when principles clash with power, and when silence is no longer an option for those who still believe in fairness and freedom. What comes next in this unfolding legal battle will likely shape the way online commentary is viewed and handled, not just by celebrities and their lawyers but by courts and legislators as well. Sources close to the legal proceedings suggest that Blake Lively's team may be preparing additional filings that could either escalate or simplify the case depending on how the creators respond to initial subpoenas. There are also rumors that some creators are considering filing counterclaims, alleging misuse of process or even retaliation for constitutionally protected speech. If such claims materialize, the legal battle could expand into uncharted territory, drawing attention from digital rights organizations and possibly even congressional inquiry. In the background of all this, Justin Baldoni continues to advocate for mental health awareness, community development, and inclusive storytelling. Even as he remains a central figure in a legal narrative, he never publicly initiated his refusal to be baited into media combat has won him respect among peers and fans alike, particularly those who admire his decision to focus on healing rather than retaliation. James Brolin's subtle endorsement then becomes a symbolic bridge between generations of actors, a shared belief that the art of storytelling must include the courage to face difficult truths. As for the creators caught in the storm, many have begun documenting their experiences in real time, with some launching independent media projects dedicated to transparency and free expression. One such creator stated on a live stream, "If this can happen to me for asking questions, then what does it say about the future of discourse in this country?" That sentiment has echoed through hundreds of comment sections, with viewers expressing both outrage and solidarity. Many have donated to legal defense funds, supported petitions, and even reached out to journalists to ensure that the creators' stories are told not just through reaction videos, but through legitimate investigations. Meanwhile, the cultural response to Blake Lively has shifted subtly as her once universally adored public image begins to show signs of strain. While she remains silent publicly, her team continues to issue statements emphasizing her need for protection and privacy. Legal experts, however, point out that the breadth of the subpoenas suggests a strategy more focused on control than safety. The contrast between the rhetoric and the reality is becoming more difficult to ignore, especially as more details from behind the scenes continue to leak through industry insiders. The implications of this case go beyond one actress, one director, or a handful of creators. At stake is the future of commentary, transparency, and narrative control in a digital age where influence is currency and perception shapes reality. It raises fundamental questions about who gets to tell stories, who gets to challenge them, and what tools those in power will use to silence dissent. In that regard, James Brolin's 5-word message remains a compass, guiding those willing to listen through the fog of controversy toward a future where integrity still matters. James Brolin's decision to speak up during the height of a heated Hollywood controversy has opened up a wider discussion about how celebrity voices impact public perception, especially when those voices carry decades of respect and credibility with them. Brolin's support for Justin Baldoni wasn't just a gesture, it was a mirror held up to the industry, one that reflects the divide between public image and private reality. As more details unfold from the ongoing legal tension between Blake Lively and various online creators, Brolin's perspective continues to reverberate, not just as commentary but as cultural calibration. Reports from Yahoo.com revealed that Brolin and Baldoni first met during a charity event focused on mental health, where they connected over shared values and artistic integrity. According to insiders, that mutual respect grew into a quiet friendship, with Brolin appreciating Baldoni's refusal to chase headlines and Baldoni admiring Brolin's grounded approach to fame. So when the legal firestorm erupted around Baldoni, involving allegations from Blake Lively's team, it didn't surprise close observers that Brolin chose to lend his voice, albeit in a measured way, saying, "I hope it works out," may seem simple. But within the context, it spoke volumes about solidarity. The case itself continues to dominate discussion forums, media outlets, and legal circles, with People.com reporting that Lively's attorneys have filed protective orders, attempting to shield certain documents from public release, while simultaneously pursuing detailed information from creators, whom they allege participated in online defamation. Creators, however, maintain that their content was based solely on public filings and verified sources, and that being pulled into legal action for commenting on matters of public interest sets a dangerous precedent. During an exclusive feature in Page 6, one anonymous creator revealed how the subpoena they received demanded not only video scripts and internal emails, but also banking details and Google Drive access. The creator said, "I thought we had freedom of expression. This doesn't feel like protection, it feels like punishment." The quote gained traction on social media, where many began comparing the subpoenas to corporate overreach. Brolin's prior stance on freedom of creative expression was cited in several viral threads, further intertwining his voice with the broader movement to protect independent commentary. Amid all of this, Blake Lively's legal team insists that the measures are necessary for her safety, citing threats and harassment that allegedly emerged following the spread of misinformation. Yet those watching from the outside see a contrasting picture, one where legal tactics risk becoming tools of intimidation rather than instruments of justice. Multiple legal analysts have expressed concern that the line between protecting privacy and suppressing critique is being dangerously blurred. And in this climate, Brolin's statement appears almost prophetic, a plea for resolution without further escalation. In private circles, Hollywood insiders have begun re-examining the implications of this case, especially as more celebrities express worry over the precedent it could set for digital creators. Some worry that the fallout from this case could discourage young filmmakers, influencers, and commentators from addressing serious subjects for fear of retaliation. Others believe it may encourage more public figures to use legal systems not as protection, but as a silencing mechanism. What makes this all the more complex is the way social media has democratized storytelling. In previous eras, narratives were controlled by studios and PR firms. But today, a teenager with a phone and Wi-Fi can shape discourse. The creators caught in Blake Lively's legal crossfire are products of that new era, and their inclusion in the lawsuit reflects the growing pains of an entertainment industry adapting to digital transparency and decentralized influence. During a recent podcast appearance, a media professor from UCLA remarked that James Brolin's brief statement might be remembered more than the court ruling itself, because it captures a moment of ethical clarity in a sea of strategic ambiguity. The comment struck a chord with listeners who are watching the case not just for its legal outcome, but for what it represents culturally and generationally. As the case progresses, Justin Baldoni has remained consistent in his approach, declining to fan the flames publicly, while continuing his philanthropic work and directing commitments. Sources close to Baldoni say that he sees this period as a test of character more than a legal ordeal. One associate shared he believes in telling the truth through art and conversation.